Hi everybody, welcome to Langer at the Mic. I'm Mike Langer. We have just about 2 more months to go until the 2023 NHL Draft, but we're just a week away from the NHL Draft Lottery. So today I'm going to give you my best available option with each lottery scenario for the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, it's still relatively early in the draft process, but without further ado, here are my 7 favorite players in this upcoming NHL draft as of right now. The best case scenario for the Montreal Canadiens is easy. They win the draft lottery, they get the first overall pick, and they select Connor Bedard. They have an 8.5% chance of that happening. The second best scenario is also easy. The Canadiens win the lottery for the second overall pick, and they select Adam Fantilli. They have an 8.6% chance of that happening, which means they have just over a 17% chance of drafting in the top 2 spots. The third best scenario is actually the least likely scenario. It's one where the Montreal Canadiens select 3rd overall, and it would be a pretty complicated situation where one of the teams outside of the top 10 wins the lottery. Kind of like what happened in 2020 where Team E won the draft lottery, or in other words, a placeholder team that had just a 2.5% chance of happening in 2020, but it did. And that's when there was a second lottery draw and the New York Rangers won that lottery and got the first overall pick in that draft. Just everything was weird in that COVID year, of course. In this case, the Canadiens have a 0.3% chance of drafting 3rd overall. And if that's the case, assuming Connor Bedard goes first and Adam Fantilli goes second, the pick for the Montreal Canadiens at 3rd overall should be none other than Matvei Michkov. Taking Michkov would be a huge swing with a lot of risk involved, of course, but I think the reward, the potential reward, would be well worth it. Even though Michkov is under contract with St. Petersburg in the KHL through 2026 as of right now, and even with the politics in Russia being more complicated than ever because of the war, if there's, all that aside, if there's a scenario where Connor Bedard and Adam Fantilli are not available, but Matvei Michkov is to the Montreal Canadiens, I would absolutely select Matvei Michkov. I think the risk and the wait will most definitely be worth it given how he could be that generational talent that the Montreal Canadiens have been lacking seemingly forever. Now, what if the Montreal Canadiens stay put at 5th overall? That is the 4th best scenario, but also the 2nd most likely scenario that has a 24.5% chance of happening. Obviously, things get a little bit more unpredictable now because the Montreal Canadiens would be dependent on who goes in the top 4 picks. As I just mentioned, if Matvei Michkov is still available, he'd be my pick, but if not, I would go with Will Smith. And if Will Smith is not available, I would go with Leo Carlsson. Will Smith is a Hollywood actor, but the hockey player Will Smith is a proven all-around point-producing center for both the U.S. National Development Program and Boston College, which is why I would take him over Carlsson, because Smith has the higher positional value of being a true centerman, and therefore, with the point production, has a higher floor in my opinion. Carlsson I'd consider as a winger. He had 25 points in 44 Swedish League games against men this year, but he is a point-per-game player when he plays in his age group. He might not be a pure goal scorer, but he is a big and smart and skilled two-way forward. I think Leo Carlsson is definitely a top 5 talent in this draft. He might even be more talented than Will Smith. I know I just said I'd take the risk-reward pick in the Matvei Michkov situation, but in this Leo Carlsson versus Will Smith debate, I just think the reward is not as worth the risk, just because of Carlsson's position uncertainty. Is he a center? Is he a winger? And he also doesn't have as much of a sample size against fellow players his age and producing at a point per game rate in those situations compared to Will Smith, who does have a larger sample size of producing at a point per game rate against his age group, both at the U.S. National Development Program and at Boston College. What does that mean in terms of what they'll become at the NHL level? Hard to say, but regardless, if the Habs are in the 5 spot, they'll likely have to settle for whoever's available between Michkov and Carlsson and Will Smith. And if it comes down to Will Smith or Leo Carlsson, I'd honestly be happy with either or. Now, the 5th best scenario. We're kind of approaching doomsday territory here because this is actually also the most likely scenario for the Montreal Canadiens, where they get jumped by one team and fall from the 5 spot to the 6th spot. That has a 44% chance of happening. If Connor Bedard, Adam Fantilli, Matvei Michkov, Will Smith, and Leo Carlsson are all gone by the time the Habs pick at 6, I think I gotta go Zach Benson. He has been a consensus top 10 player all season. Some scouts even have Benson in their top 5. Benson has been a point per game player at pretty much all levels that he has played at. He totaled 36 goals and 98 points with the Winnipeg Ice this year. Even though he is undersized at around 5'10", 160 pounds, scouts say he is a creative offensive player with immense hockey IQ and a wizard with the puck. For a Habs team that needs more pure offensive talent and point producers, I think Benson could be exactly that, even as an undersized player. He could be an excellent complement to Juraj Slafkovsky, or even in a case where the Habs trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois. And now the worst case scenario, the Montreal Canadiens get jumped by not one, but 2 teams and fall to 7th overall. That has a 14.2% chance of happening. So now if Connor Bedard, Adam Fantilli, Matvei Michkov, Will Smith, Leo Carlsson, and Zach Benson are all gone, I think I gotta go with Colby Barlow at 7. The Canadiens already have a proven goal scorer in Cole Caulfield. Colby Barlow could be another. Barlow's 46 goals with Owen Sound this year was second among CHL draft prospects, trailing only Connor Bedard's 71. Based on scouting reports, not only does Barlow have a great shot, but even when he is not scoring goals, he is extremely effective. Barlow was named as Owen Sound's captain at just 17 years old, and he plays in all situations, including, of course, the penalty kill. Barlow projects as a tremendous leader in addition to being a goal scorer, but also an ultra competitive two-way player who happens to be 6'1" and close to 190 pounds at just 18 years old. Now, Barlow has admittedly not been a top 10 player, at least by consensus, but at this point, if the Habs have fallen out of the top 5 and therefore they have less of a chance of drafting a home run type of a player, you have to start thinking about players with higher floors and a little bit less risk. Barlow might not fill the Habs' need for a point per game player, but he certainly fills a need for goal scoring, and his defensive play could also enable guys like Suzuki and Caulfield and maybe even Kirby Dach and maybe even Pierre-Luc Dubois to eventually become point per game players. So there you have it, my 7 favorite prospects going into this upcoming NHL draft on this first week of May, just a week away from the NHL Draft Lottery. It goes Connor Bedard, Adam Fantilli, Matvei Michkov, Will Smith, Leo Carlsson, Zach Benson, and Colby Barlow. In the end, the Montreal Canadiens have a 42% chance of picking in one of the top 5 spots and a 58% chance of falling back to either 6 or 7. Now, who are some of your favorite prospects that could be available to the Habs at 1, 2, or 3, or 5, 6, or 7? Let me know in the comment section below. But of course, hit like, hit subscribe, and also I plan on live streaming during the announcement of the draft lottery next Monday, so be sure to join me then as well. And also give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Mike Langer for both. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again next time.